Hello, and welcome all to Movie Hunter, the show that tracks down the quality of all sorts of movies. My name is Hunter, and today in the 29th episode, our target is the 2003 movie The Haunted Mansion, produced by Morgan Creek Productions, Inc. and Walt Disney Pictures, and distributed by Buena Vista Pictures Distribution. In January of 2002, it was officially announced that Disney would be producing a film based on the Haunted Mansion ride at Disneyland and Disney World, with the script being written by David Berenabaum. The mansion was originally going to be based on the original ride in Disneyland, but over time developed into a mix between the two versions of the ride. The film has 4 hidden Mickeys throughout the film, that is, 3 circles shaped to resemble Mickey Mouse. The chief costume designer, Rick Baker, described the ghost as becoming more dead the further they strayed from the mansion, with him also noting that he gave one of the zombies a cane to make it less scary for viewers. On top of a score written by Mark Mancina, who had previously done Disney's Tarzan and helped with Disney's The Lion King, the original attraction's song, Grim Grinning Ghosts, is briefly played in the film. The film released on November 26, 2003, and made $182.3 million on a budget of $90 million. The film received mostly negative reviews upon release, but has since seen a bit of a cult following, leading to a reboot in 2023. The film was directed by Rob Minkoff and written by David Berenabaum. It was produced by Don Hahn, Andrew Gunn, and James G. Robinson. The cinematography was by Remy Edefarasin and edited by Priscilla Ned Friendly. The music was by Mark Mancina, and the chief costume designer was Rick Baker. The cast includes Eddie Murphy, Marsha Thompson, Mark John Jeffries, Ali Davis, Nathaniel Parker, Terrence Stamp, Jennifer Tilly, Wallace Shawn, Dina Spivey, The Dapper Dans, Deep Roy, Jeremy Howard, Clay Martinez, Corey Burton, and Rachel Harris. The film follows a man named Jim, a realtor whose focus on work often distracts him from his family, including his wife Sarah, his daughter Megan, and his son Michael. Upon missing his anniversary, Jim promises his family a trip that weekend to the lake. When his wife, who is also a realtor, gets a phone call from Gracey Manor about selling, eager to sell the huge mansion, Jim convinces his family to drop by on their way. They are greeted inside by the butler, Ramsley, and meet the owner, Mr. Gracey. When a thunderstorm floods the road, Mr. Gracey allows them to stay for the night. The children find a spectral orb that they then follow to the basement, where they find a picture of someone resembling their mother, who the maid Emma and footman Ezra say is the now deceased Elizabeth. Ramsley takes Jim to the library to discuss the deal, but Jim gets stuck in a secret passage after he is left alone and has an encounter with Madame Leota, a fortune teller who is a head inside of a crystal ball. Meanwhile, Mr. Gracey shows Sarah around the mansion and tells her about his grandfather who died after the death of his lover, Elizabeth. Jim then meets up with his children and Emma and Ezra, who meet up with Madame Leota looking for answers about Sarah's likeness to Elizabeth. It is revealed that a century ago, the mansion became cursed by the death of Elizabeth and Mr. Gracey's grandfather, with the inhabitants still residing there as ghosts. Madame Leota sends Jim and his children on a quest to find a key to a locked chest in the attic. After unlocking it, Jim discovers a letter written by Elizabeth that reveals what really happened. While it was believed that Elizabeth had taken her own life, it was actually Ramsley who had killed her and framed it that way, not wanting Mr. Gracey to be distracted by her, who is revealed to actually be the ghost of his previously thought grandfather. Ramsley locks the children in the trunk that he then uses as leverage against Sarah for her to marry Mr. Gracey, with Mr. Gracey believing that she is Elizabeth's reincarnation and will remember when she marries him. Jim, having been thrown out the mansion, is able to get back inside with Madame Leota's help and confronts Ramsley about Elizabeth's letter. Mr. Gracey, learning the truth, turns on Ramsley, who is dragged into a fireplace by a demon. Sarah collapses, having secretly been poisoned by Ramsley, but the spectral orb that the children found appears and revives her, then revealing to be Elizabeth, who frees all the ghosts of the mansion. Mr. Gracey, before leaving, gives Jim the deed to the house, and Jim takes his family to the lake. Firstly, let's discuss the protagonists through which we experience the mansion, namely Jim and his family. Now, with this kind of movie, it's kind of hard to describe the main character, as it isn't really the focus of the movie, and much more so about the actor behind it, if that makes sense. Well, when I think about these kinds of films, I typically think about something like some Adam Sandler films, in which he typically plays the same character, depending on the film, and the central character isn't necessarily what you're thinking about. You're mostly thinking about Adam Sandler. Not to imply that this is a bad thing, not at all. Some of these Adam Sandler films are among my favorite. Nor is it to suggest that Adam Sandler can't act and can only play the same character. For evidence of that, I will direct your attention to things like Hotel Transylvania or 50 First Dates. This is just simply what some movies do. Yes, the actor is playing a character, but is that really where your attention is drawn to? A similar thing happens here, where Eddie Murphy is playing the character Jim, but I'm entering this film expecting one of two things to happen here. One, for the film to endear me to the character of Jim and give him a satisfying character to watch progress, or two, let Jim be a vessel through which Eddie Murphy can be his comedic self. The film, I find, tries to do both of these things at the same time, and neither fail necessarily, but neither succeed either. Firstly, Jim is given a very simple but nonetheless effective character, with him wanting to provide for his family, but in the process not actually being there with them. I like how he genuinely wants to fix this problem and promises his family to a trip to the lake that very weekend, and how he gets put into a corner when the mansion owner wants to sell, knowing how big of an opportunity that would be. From there, the character is pretty limited, with the only real thing of note being that he takes his family to the lake at the end. But the thing is that he didn't really learn anything. He always wanted to spend time with his family, things just got in the way. Now, at the end of the film, he just gets the opportunity to do so, leading nothing to really feel learned. As for Eddie Murphy's comedy, it's pretty off and on throughout the film. A few jokes did make me laugh, but nowhere near as hilarious or memorable as, say, his character in Shrek. As for Jim's family, they're about the same, really. Jim's wife, Sarah, is fairly lacking in the character area, mostly being a vessel for the film's story to progress. Similarly, the kids, Megan and Michael, are pretty insignificant, not really doing much or having memorable moments. There's a sort of character arc where Michael learns how to overcome his fear of spiders, but it's really the bare elements required to tell that story. Overall, these characters are fine, but lack exceptionally great moments to really warrant discussing all too thoroughly. Well, what about the mansion itself? Similar to a film such as Night at the Museum, I feel as though the main draw of this film is to see the fun concept of a haunted mansion expanded upon. Well, I feel like it works pretty well in some aspects, and not so well in others. Firstly, the villain Ramsley and the owner of the mansion, Mr. Gracey, are probably the most interesting parts of the haunted mansion. Ramsley tricking Mr. Gracey is pretty interesting to watch unfold, as well as the reveal that it was Ramsley who killed Elizabeth being fairly effective. The one thing that does stick out is what Ramsley hoped to accomplish with all this. He states something along the lines of not wanting Mr. Gracey to be distracted, but distracted from what? It seems like he's pretty much allowed to do whatever he wants because of his family's wealth. Not to mention the fact that Elizabeth dying led to him dying too, and cursing the entire mansion, making Mr. Gracey and Ramsley become ghosts. But I guess it's all okay to Ramsley as long as Mr. Gracey doesn't get distracted, I guess. Along with that, it's also never explained why Sarah and Elizabeth look identical, or how the curse of the mansion works exactly, or why Ramsley seems to be in control of it all. And none of this is necessarily a bad thing or overly distracting, but I'm more so disappointed that these things weren't explored more, because they had the potential to be really interesting. Similarly, any ghosts outside of Ramsley and Mr. Gracey are incredibly underused. Madame Leota is maybe the exception in this regard, but she isn't even really a ghost, but nonetheless a fun character. Emma and Ezra had the potential to be very fun additions to the cast, similar to something like the two robots that join the main cast in the film The Mitchells vs. the Machines, but they are given so little time to do anything. The scene where the ghosts, Jim and the kids, travel through the graveyard and see all those ghosts looked like it was going to be really interesting, but the scene is over before it even starts. I will give it this though, the scene in the mausoleum was really cool. I heard a lot of people found the scene scary, and maybe this is because I'm watching through The Walking Dead right now, but the scene was pretty tame, really. Overall, I wished the ghosts of the mansion were used more. There was a lot of potential, but it's all rushed over too quickly to leave a significant impact that warrants rewatching time and time again. I give The Haunted Mansion a 7 out of 10 for being a decently fun little film. I'd say it's a fun enough watch and does what it sets out to do to a certain degree. Probably not going to become a yearly rewatch every Halloween, but nonetheless a fun time. And I wouldn't go so far as to say it isn't worth your time, but there's definitely better Halloween movies out there. Well, that's all, folks. I hope you enjoyed, and feel free to share any opinions you had on the movie. A new episode releases each week, so stay tuned to see which film I cover next. And in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.